Hi, this is Kirsten KAPUR. Thanks for joining me today. I'd like to show you the cast-on that I like to use to begin my Thorpe hat pattern. Thorpe is worked from the top down, so we need to begin with only a very few stitches at the top of the crown here, and we increase outward from there. So I want to begin with very few stitches. I start this hat by casting on only 4 stitches, using a long tail cast on. I'm going to assume in this video that you know a long tail cast on. If you do not know the long tail cast on, I recommend that you watch some YouTube videos and learn that cast on, or you can use your favorite cast on here. I think pretty much any cast on will work. I will be using the long tail cast on today to start this hat. So I'm going to need 5 double pointed needles. I like to work this on 5 double pointed needles because the increases on Thorpe divide up really easily that way, really nicely, and it helps you keep track of where you are in your increasing in that pattern. Now when we do our long tail, we'll take one of those 5 needles, we'll make a slip knot, put it on the needle, and then cast on 3 more, because that slip knot counts as the first of our 4 stitches that we're casting on. There's 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you've ever worked an I-cord, this is going to look very familiar. We take those 4 stitches that are right now on the left tip of the needle, and we're going to slip them over to the right end of the needle. Now we're going to hold that needle in our left hand with the tip pointing to the right. I'm going to take my second needle, making sure I'm getting the working yarn here and not the tail. I'm going to bring it across the back of all of those stitches, all 4 stitches, because remember, we slipped those stitches, so the tail is coming off the last stitch now instead of, as we are used to having it be off this first stitch. We're going to bring it all the way across the back, and we're going to knit front and back into each of those stitches. So knit into the front, knit into the back, drop it off the needle. Knit into the front, don't drop that old stitch yet, knit into the back, drop it off the needle. Knit into the front, knit into the back, drop it off the needle, knit into the front, knit into the back, drop it off the needle. So now those original 4 stitches are 8 stitches. It's a little tight on here, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it's time to divide those 8 stitches up evenly on our needles. So I, as I said earlier, prefer to do this with 5 needles, so I would have the 1 working needle that I'll be knitting the stitches with, and then I'm dividing them up on each of the 4 others. So let's take and put 2 on each. 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, and those last 2 are already on a needle, so we'll just leave them there. So now we have our 8 stitches divided evenly on 4 needles, and we've got our spare needle that we'll be knitting with. Now I want to take and I want to flip the whole thing over. Move that tail out of your way, don't let it confuse you. Make sure you're working with this working yarn. the needle that's right next to the one with the working yarn on it. Those are going to be our first 2 stitches. That's going to be needle 1. And we're going to knit into the front and back of each of these stitches. Knit into the front, knit into the back, drop the stitch. Knit front, knit back, drop the stitches. Next needle, same thing. Knit into the front. Get out of my way, tail. There we go. Knit into the back. Drop it. Knit front. Knit back. Drop it. Onto needle 3 here. Into the front. Knit back. Drop it. Knit front. Back, drop it, and finally on needle 4, oops, pulled that yarn a little too far, knit into the front, knit into the back, drop it, knit into the front, now you'll see that we have 4 stitches on each needle for a total of 16 stitches. So our 8 stitches became 16. For this next round, we're going to increase by knitting into the front and back of 1 stitch, then just knitting the next stitch, and then knit front and back, knit 1, knit front and back, knit 1, knit front and back, knit 1, all the way around. So we're not increasing each stitch this time. We're knitting 1 plain stitch in between each. So let's go ahead and do that. Making sure the yarn is coming off the needle that's over here on the right. Working into the needle 1 that's on the left. Knit into the front, knit into the back. Knit 1. Front, knit into the back, knit 1. Onto needle 2. Knit front, knit back, knit 1. Front, knit back, knit 1, knit front, knit back, knit 1, knit front, knit back, knit 1, and I think we have 1 more needle to go. Yep, that one only has 4 stitches on it. Knit front and back, knit 1, knit front and back, knit 1. And now you will see that I have 6 stitches on each needle for a total of 24 stitches. The next round I will knit would be just a plain knit round. I don't think I need to show you that. And then from there you would just follow your instructions that are in your pattern and continue to work from the center out, you'll see that we've grown from just those few 4 stitches. We can see that it's starting to get larger and larger. And as you increase, your hat will grow, and it will become a lot easier to work. The beginning part of this hat is a little fussy. I recommend when you try this cast on for the first time that you start with a chunkier yarn like this Malabrigo Chunky that I'm using for this demonstration. The needles I'm using here are a US 9, but you can use needles that work best for you with that yarn. We all have different tension on our yarn and achieve different gauge. So that is how I work my favorite center out cast on. Thanks for joining me today.